Okay, we're going to look at Vals. This is a longer composition by the Spanish guitarist Bartolomé Calatayud. Vals is just the Spanish name for a waltz, and that's a piece that's in three, right? These were originally dances, although this is not the kind of music one would normally dance to in this case. They've become more for listening. So we're going to have to use a variety of techniques in this piece, and as in our other pieces, there's different parts that will return. The composer uses the music pretty efficiently. So the first thing we're going to do is learn a new right hand pattern. So in order to do this, we're going to have to pinch simultaneously the outer strings, and we're going to do this with the thumb, P, and the A finger, the ring finger on the first string. So we play those at the same time. And immediately following that, the index finger and the middle finger are going to pluck the third string and the second string simultaneously. And then we do that again. So this is in a 3 count. It would sound like this. 1, 2, 3. That technique of the crab claw followed by the 2 fingers, you can think of this as pa-pa. 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 Those pa-pas are always done with the index and the middle finger together. So that is how we begin the piece. The next measure is played with that same outer string crab claw. But now what we're going to have to do is fret some single notes. And we're going to first play F sharp on the 2nd fret of the 1st string, and we pluck that with our middle finger. And then we play G, which is the 3rd fret, with our middle finger. That's the right hand middle finger. Plucking finger should have been your index finger, because we're alternating. So again, just the 2nd measure. We pluck the outer strings, then we pluck F sharp only with the middle finger, and then we pluck G only with the index finger. So that sounds like this. So those 2 measures together. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this finger on G and we're going to shift up. We're going to shift it all the way up to the 7th fret. Now some of your guitars may have dot indicators either on this side of the fretboard, or sometimes you have dots right on the fingerboard. They tend to be placed on the 3rd, 5th, 7th frets. Classical guitars generally only will have the 7th fret marker. And notice there's no markers on the fingerboard, so you may have to count. So my middle finger is now on the 7th fret. This makes this 6th position. And what I do with the right hand is I crab claw those outer strings as we did before, and follow it with the pa-pa of the pa-pa on those open strings. And then we're going to play what we did at the beginning. So all that first 4 bars sound like this. One thing you'll notice is when I shift, I'm keeping my finger down to sustain and move as I move my finger, the pitch remains, right? That's called a glissando or a slide more commonly. Again, that sounds like this. And that's a desired sound in a piece like that. You don't have to do that, and you might find it a little challenging, right? When you shift, in order to do that, you have to maintain the pressure. Okay, so now we move to the next line of music. And for this, we're going to have to hold a chord with the left hand. The right hand's almost going to do identical to what it had been doing previously. So in order for us to get this next chord, we have to squeeze 3 fingers into the same fret. Notice I have my first finger on the 5th string, then I skip a string, middle finger is on the third string, then I skip a string, and my ring finger is on the first string. What we're going to do with our right hand is the same exact thing we've been doing, but the thumb this time is going to pluck the fifth string. So we pluck the fifth and the first together, and then my index and middle pluck the third and second string simultaneously as I hold this chord. That sounds like this. In the sixth measure, we pluck those outer two same strings, fifth and first again, and then I'm going to pivot my pinky down onto the third fret and pluck it by itself, and then I lift it and pluck that first string. So that sounds like this, both the fifth and sixth measures. That's about as hard as it gets in this piece. Immediately following that, we just go back to the open sixth and first strings as we had done at the beginning. And we finish off with a single bass note, which is the second fret, fifth string B, played with the thumb. And then we do the pa-pa that we've been doing on strings 2 and 3. So those 8 measures sound like this. Then we repeat all of that. And it ends slightly differently the second time. Notice all I did to end that time is just played the outer strings, and then there's 2 rests, which means that you have to mute the strings. So that's the first page of music of Vals. Let's continue with the piece. Now, as you're learning it, you can pause this, go back, go forward, and just work on the parts that you need to. So if we continue, we have to go back to that chord we were holding. And basically, there's really nothing new that happens here in this next line. We just play what we've done before with this. Now we have something new, and we're going to have to do some new shifting. So the first thing we're going to do is play the A bass with our thumb, and then we have to pluck 2 notes together, A on the third string, second fret, and C on the first fret, second string. We pluck those together, and then we do it again. So that sounds like this, thumb on the fifth, and then those 2 together. Then we pluck them all at the same time, including the thumb. And here I have to take this shape in my left hand and shift up 2 frets to the third position, and we pluck those 2 strings with I and M, and then I shift back, and I pluck those 2 strings. So this new little passage sounds like this. Again. Now, one thing that's consistent in this piece is that the thumb is always plucking on count 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So that's one way to kind of gauge where your thumb needs to pluck. So as soon as we're done with that, we go back to the 6-string bass by itself, and then the regular pa-pa, and a single bass note B. And then we have to go back to our chord we've been holding. And this time it's going to be a little different. We're not going to pivot with the pinky. Rather, what we do is we pluck the 5th and the first string together. And we do it again, but rather than pivoting with the pinky, we open up the first string so that it's E, and then we go back to F sharp. So that sounds like this. And now what happens is we have to fret a G, and I usually do it with my pinky because it's my only free finger at that point. And now we pluck the 6th and the 1st string together, crab claw. And then we do those same 2 strings but open. So all of that sounds like this. So let me play up until this point all of the second page of this piece, starting with this chord when we return to it. So now there's a little bit of new material, 4 more measures, and then we will be done with the new material. We have to play a C, that's 5th string, 3rd fret, and while we hold that down, we want to hold down a C on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, and we're going to pluck that and the 1st string with your index and middle fingers after the thumb. 2 times, so it sounds like this. And now what follows is a thumb solo, where we play that note C that we're holding on the 3rd fret, follow it with the 2nd fret, then the 1st fret, back to the 2nd fret, up to the 3rd fret, 2nd, open, and then we move to the 6th. And then from there, we play the first part that we did at the beginning and to end the piece with the repetition of that part. So let me just do that so that you can see what that sounds like. And then I'm back to that opening material. Now, one thing you'll notice if you look at the score in the music, during this bass solo, it has the word indicated rallentando. Rallentando is a gradual slowing of the beat. And then as soon as you're done with that bass solo, the music says a tempo, which means you go back to the regular tempo. So it would sound something like this. And then I'm back in time, right? So that's how that works. So let's look at how this piece ends then. As I mentioned, after we've had that bass solo, we're just going to play the same exact material we did at the beginning. The only difference is how this piece concludes. The ending is just slightly different. So let me just play it for you and I'll talk us through. Here's the first opening material. We get to this chord, we have the pinky pivot, and then we repeat it. And here is the ending that's different. So those bell-like tones are called natural harmonics, and they're a little tricky to play, but something that everyone should practice. The way that you execute those harmonics is that you have to lightly touch the string in a spot called the node. And the node is about 1 millimeter thick, so it's a very small space, and if you're not directly on the node, this does not work. In order to find this harmonic, you need to find the 12th fret. On a classical guitar, that's very easy because it's right where the neck and the body meet. On a steel string guitar, you'll see a double dot on the 12th fret, so that's easy to find. So you lightly touch the string right over the fret wire, directly over the fret wire. You can't be in front of it or behind it. lightly touching, so no pressing down, just touching the string and pluck it. And then remove your finger straight off. And I pluck that with my index finger. And then notice I'm using the tip of my pinky. Then I go to the second string and I do the same thing. And then I move it to the first string and I do the same thing. And in my right hand, what I'm doing is index, then middle, and then ring. P-I-M-A, right? I-M-A. So that's how this one concludes. So I think now I should play the whole piece for you. Here's Vals by Bartolomé Calatayud as an entire piece. I'll perform this at what would be close to a performance tempo. I recommend practicing it slower than this. This is just to give you an idea. So that's the solo Valse by Bartolomé Calatayud. It's certainly an involved piece and will take some practice, but if you put time into it, it will reward you. It's a great piece to learn from beginning to end, a great piece to be able to perform for someone. You've told your family and friends you're taking a guitar class, they're going to want to hear you play. This is a great piece to try that with.